Hey guys, welcome back. 31 days ago, I bought this house, and in about 2 hours, tenants are moving in. In this video, I'm going to show you how I took the house from looking like this into looking like this. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so day one, I got the keys around lunchtime, took this little video here, and once that was done, I got to work ripping out the old carpets. Now what you can't see on video is the smell. This house had been abandoned for about 3 years, and before that, the gentleman who lived there was a bit of a hoarder. So the house had a bit of a unique smell. So the first thing I did was I ripped out all of my carpets and then moved on to the cabinets and the old lath and plaster walls in the kitchen. I got my dumpster delivered, and this was a 30-yard bin, which, as you'll see, I filled fully with stuff from this house. On day two, I continued in the kitchen. Just like every renovation, once you start to open up the walls, you frequently find things you weren't expecting. In this case, I was actually expecting to find some rot, and I had fully planned to replace that back wall. So one of my goals for this renovation was to keep it within a certain budget. And so one of the things I did was I looked for used or second-hand items. And so for this window here that I'm framing out, it's normally a $700 to $800 window, but I was able to find it, on Facebook Marketplace, 3 years old in great condition for $150. And you'll notice there's a few other things throughout the build that I was able to get, second-hand in good condition. And that really went a long way in keeping me inside my target budget. So on day three, I turned to the upstairs. As you can see here, I gutted the bathroom. Because I was keeping the tub, I made sure to put something down so when I was taking off tiles and chunks of ceiling, I didn't get any dents into the tub. And also on day three, I cut out an opening inside of the living room for a new back exterior door. On day four, once I had framed up the header, jacks, and kings for the new doorway, I was able to install the new door. This I was able to get second hand for about $120, whereas a new metal exterior door would be in the range of $300 to $400. On day five, I just about burnt down the house. I was soldering some copper connections and I got the flame a little bit too close to the old wood, and it being very dry took up pretty quickly. So I got a water-soaked rag, was able to stop the spread, but I kept monitoring it because I was afraid that there was going to be some ember that caught and I'd come back from lunch and the house would be burned down. So the rest of the day I spent finishing up the plumbing for the house. And that included a new shower diverter and plumbing for the shower, water shutoff for the toilet, as well as bathroom vanity. Also new water shutoffs for the kitchen sink. And I finished the day in the basement by adding some new water lines for a washing machine hookup, as well as replacing the water heater. So day 6, I tackled the electrical. Alright, so there was this old armored cable, which came up from the basement. Problem is, it is aluminum, and I went to a little junction box here. And so I've had to get a little creative on how to pull that cable back down. As you can see, it comes from inside the closet, goes down through the header of one of the walls. Right there. Comes down here and finally into the basement. And so this is where it comes out. So basically, this is old aluminum wiring, which we can't have. So I am replacing this with some proper copper. All right, so I have my new wire attached to the end of this old armored cable. It's kind of spooled out here. I'm gonna go upstairs and pull it through the whole house. On day 7, they came and collected the dumpster, and I continued my work on the electrical. One thing I did for this place was I converted one of the living rooms into another bedroom, and so I had to add a switch as well as overhead light for that new bedroom. On day 8, I spent the entire day preparing the walls and ceilings for drywall. So on some of the walls where I'd removed the old plaster, I was able to put the drywall directly on those old wooden strips. But a lot of the walls weren't great, so I had to add furring strips. And I also added furring strips to all the ceilings, and that just made a nice, easy layout for putting on new drywall. So I didn't actually get any footage on day 9. But the day started around 7:30 when my drywall arrived. These guys brought some of the drywall upstairs as well as brought the rest just into the main floor. And I spent the rest of the day laying sheetrock. On day 10, I continued laying drywall, now working my way into the upstairs bathroom. You can see here I switched over to the blue moisture resistant drywall. And here I'm preparing around the tub, doing my normal waterproofing measures, tape around the flange of the tub, a layer of plastic, and then my hardy backer for behind my tiles. So on day 11, I started off with drywall. I moved outside briefly to fill in the exposed exterior, which I hadn't done yet. And then I noticed some of the bricks on the chimney were fairly loose. So I took the opportunity to replace a lot of the old bricks and repoint some of the joints along the bottom of the chimney. So day 12 was a little bit more framing, insulation, and drywall. I added up some walls to kind of close off the living room bedroom that I created, and then spent the rest of the day putting up more drywall. The only footage I have here is about 11 o'clock at night when the guys came and they turned on the gas for the house. Day 13 was my final day of drywall, and I just finished off a few sections in the kitchen, as well as some parts on the main floor. On day 15, I spent most of it in the upstairs bathroom, and I started to do the tiling inside the shower. On day 16, I had my tapers in, and they started filling the seams and doing kind of their first coat of mud on all the new drywall I had put up. On day 17, I did some concrete work. I decided to extend the bump out under the chimney so that underneath the back door there was a concrete ledge. I also did some stuff in the basement, including painting over some of the old rusted gas lines with some trim clad just to make sure that they didn't rust anymore. On day 18, I spent the whole day in the basement adding bracing and support to the floor joists above. Over the last 100 years, the house had settled a little bit, so I took the opportunity to jack it back up level and install some nice support beams. On day 20, my tapers continued with their second or might have been third coat of mud, sanding in between, and I worked in the washroom, finishing the tiles inside of the shower, as well as putting down my Schluter system for the tiles on the bathroom floor. On day 21, I spent cleaning the house, kind of returning some of my tools, getting materials, as well as I had a few deliveries, one being the new washer and dryer for the basement. I also tiled the floor upstairs in the bathroom, and my HVAC guys came and started working on the furnace and new air conditioning. On day 22, my floor sanders arrived and started to sand the floors. Now this was one of my favorite parts of the renovation because it really transformed the space. The floors went from being covered in 3 to 4 layers of paint and splattered with drywall mud to being clean, pristine, and looking really nice. Once the floor sanders were done for the day, my taper was back, sanding in between coats, as well as my HVAC guys came a little bit later in the evening and continued to install the new furnace and air conditioning unit. So I spent the morning waiting for a delivery of kitchen cabinets, and when it came at 11 o'clock, I set up on the front lawn and started building the cabinets. And the reason was because the next day I had a guy coming to measure for the kitchen countertops. So I stayed pretty late, making sure all the cabinets were installed, nice and level, and ready for the measurements. On day 23, I put in a transition piece from the wood flooring to tiles in the bathroom floor. I did some grouting in the bathroom shower, and I met with the guy who took some measurements for the kitchen countertops. On the 24th, the sanders were back in nice and early, finishing with a final buff coat on all the floors. And then they put on their first layer of the finish. Now this was great because I couldn't be in the house while the floors were drying. And I'd been going for about 3 weeks straight on very little sleep, so I just crashed and slept for the rest of the day. On day 25, around lunchtime, I was able to get back in the house. And I decided to replace one of the windows upstairs. Now this was one that was single pane, the sill was all rotted, so I took the opportunity to take out the window and replace with one that I found on clearance at Home Depot. So you can see here just kind of how thick the old walls were. So here's your actual true 2" by 4" wooden studs, which go all the way up and down the house. Then you have this kind of shiplap board on the inside. Then you have your lath and plaster. There's the lath, there's the plaster, and here's the new drywall, which has been put on top of the old lath and plaster. And then on the exterior, you have an inch thick boards. You know, some of these boards are like 24 inches wide. Then you have shiplap. Then you have like this tar paper. That's like kind of the brick looking tar paper. And then obviously we have a little bit of insulation and then the OSB and house wrap. And then our siding will go on the outside of that. So in total, we have walls that are about like 20 inches thick. But unfortunately, because it's an old house, we kind of have very little R value. We just have this kind of, 2 inches of insulation here on the exterior. And while I was replacing this back window, my grandmother and mum went around to all the other windows and gave them a thorough cleaning. On day 26, I connected the washer to the connection that I had put in previously, as well as the dryer. I ran some ducting and put a little vent outside, so that was all set up. And I also put some grouting on the bathroom floor upstairs. On day 27, my friends over at Kepler Paint Co. showed up, and we started painting, or priming and painting, the house. On day 28, the guys continued painting. At this point, they had done most of the ceilings and were starting on the gray for the walls. I had a delivery of appliances for the kitchen, and while all of this was happening, I was working on the trim. Some of it was baseboard trim in the bathroom, some of it was trim around the window upstairs, as well as some of the trim for the back door, the window in the kitchen, and baseboards in the kitchen. Alright, it is the 29th and we are en route, 7 o'clock in the morning, or just before. We were there last night until 12 o'clock. Still a decent amount to do. Today I'd like to get all the cabinets built and installed, the bathroom vanity as well as the toilet upstairs. I also have to pop out to a different rental because I have some movers moving in September 1st there as well. And there's just a few things that need to be kind of fixed or updated just before they move in, because I'd like them to move into a ready house as well. So it'll be a busy day today. Painters are also going to be here. Super thankful for them being able to come on such short notice and help me out, because if they weren't able to come, the place wouldn't have any paint. So we'll keep chugging along and it'll be tight, but we'll get it done. So in the afternoon of the 29th, my flooring guys were back for the second and final coat on the floors. This one was a lot quicker to dry, so I was able to come back the next day on the 30th around lunchtime, just as my countertops were arriving.
Oh, he's taking video, so what to do?
Make it sound heavy, yeah. There's gonna be another step when you get into the kitchen there. Yeah, all good. Day 31 was spent painting. The painter stayed till about 11 o'clock at night. I stayed a little bit longer, just wrapping things up. Wow, the video comes on and he forgets how to paint.
Too much pressure.
Don't worry, I'll edit that out, I promise.
I told you, as soon as the camera goes on, we're gonna start looking bad.
Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a super fun renovation and definitely a challenge. I had an amazing team of friends and family which helped me out along the way and definitely would not have been possible without them. Before I show you the finalized product, here's a little reminder of what the place used to look like.